various power losses in induction motor can be classified as follows. First one is constant losses, the second one being variable losses. Under constant losses, again, the further classification, we have core losses and mechanical losses. These core losses are also called as magnetic losses. Let us discuss about the core loss or the magnetic loss first. Now, when I say core loss, this core loss occurs in both stator as well as rotor core, and these are also called as iron losses because the material out of which stator and rotor cores are made up of is either iron or an alloy of iron. So this core loss, magnetic loss, and iron losses are one and the same. These iron losses are of two types. One is eddy current loss, other one is hysteresis loss. Now, any magnetic material we choose, it has got its own pH curve, that is energy which is spent for the cycle of magnetization and demagnetization. So this curve is also referred to as hysteresis loop. This hysteresis loop is distinct for every magnetic material. Bigger is the loop, more is the energy which is spent for the cycle of magnetizing and demagnetizing, hence more is the hysteresis loss. Whereas these eddy currents are nothing but the circulating currents which are found on the surface of the magnetic material. This is because whenever an EMF gets induced in any magnetic material, this leads to the development of circulating currents on the surface, which further leads to heating of the magnetic material. So this is accounted as eddy current loss. So these two losses together are called as core losses or iron losses. How to minimize these losses are, we cannot make this losses totally zero. So the only possibility is we can minimize it by following the laminated construction of the core, both stator and rotor core. We can keep the eddy current losses to a minimum value, whereas the hysteresis losses can be minimized by selecting high grade silicon steel or those materials which has got smaller hysteresis loop for the construction of rotor and stator, because of which the hysteresis losses can be minimized. So these put together forms the core loss or the iron loss. The second type of the constant loss is mechanical losses. The mechanical losses includes frictional losses and the windage losses. Both these core losses and mechanical losses put together are called as constant loss. Why? Because the core losses or the iron losses depends only on voltage and frequency. Unless and until the supply voltage and frequency is not varied, the stator voltage and stator frequency remains same, whereas the rotor frequency depends upon slip value, and the slip value is maximum only during starting, and as the motor starts rotating, slip value decreases, because of which the rotor frequency Fr, which is given by S times F, also will be very small compared to that of the supply frequency F. As the stator frequency is same as that of the supply frequency, the iron losses which occur in the stator core are more dominant compared to that of the iron losses which occur in the rotor of the same machine, which is that is why reason why the rotor losses are generally neglected. So these core losses and mechanical losses for a given machine remains constant at any load condition, hence it is called as constant losses. Moving on to the second type, that is variable loss. The other name for this variable loss is copper loss. We have windings present in both stator as well as in rotor. Whenever the current flows through the windings, these copper losses occurs in both stator winding as well as in rotor winding. And as the load varies, the current which is drawn by the motor from the supply, that is both rotor as well as stator currents varies, because of which the currents through both stator and rotor winding varies. But among both the losses, rotor copper loss is very dominant, and that is what is accounted while considering the total losses of induction motor. And the copper loss of the rotor is given by 3 times I2R square R2. The general equation is I square R. Here, because we are talking about rotor and under running condition, it is I2R square. R2 is the rotor resistance, these being the per phase values. So when we just take I2R square R2, what we get will be the rotor copper loss for one phase. If we want the total rotor copper loss, it has to be multiplied by 3. So this equation gives us the total rotor copper loss. Power flow in an induction motor. Induction motor converts an electrical power which is supplied into the mechanical power, and this conversion does not happen in one shot. So there are other various stages which are involved in this conversion. That is where the electrical input power is getting converted into the mechanical output power. So this various stages which are involved in this conversion itself is referred to as power flow in an induction motor. In induction motor, we have two major parts. One is stator, other one is rotor. Stator forms the input part, whereas rotor forms the output part. So the electrical input is given to the stator. When a three-phase supply is given to stator, that is the net electrical input to the motor. Net electrical input or the total electrical input to the motor, which is denoted as P in and is given by the formula root 3 VL cos phi, where VL and IL are the line voltage and line current of the supply respectively, cos phi being the power factor. So this total electrical input is referred to as stator input. A part of this power is spent to supply the losses in the stator, both stator core and stator copper losses put together. So a part of this power which is supplied to the stator loss, and the remaining power is delivered to the rotor magnetically through the air gap with the help of rotating magnetic field. So this power which is delivered to rotor is referred to as rotor input, or it is also accounted as stator output. That is represented as P2. Now this P2 is given by P in minus stator losses. P in is the total electrical input given to stator. In that, a part of power is spent in for the losses, stator losses, and the remaining power is delivered to rotor, which is regarded as P2. In rotor, we have two losses. One is core loss, other one is copper loss. But compared to the core loss, copper losses are very dominant. So in rotor, only the copper losses are accounted, as the rotor iron losses are very small. So that rotor copper loss is represented by Pc, and which is given by the formula 3 times I2R square R2, R2 being the rotor resistance per phase, and I2R being the rotor current per phase in running condition. So if we take only these two parameters, what we get will be the per phase rotor copper loss. The total rotor copper loss is obtained by multiplying this value by 3 times. So after supplying this rotor loss, the remaining part of the P2 is then converted into mechanical power, which is called as gross mechanical power, and it is represented as P2. So P2 is the input given to the rotor. A part of it is spent for compensating the copper losses, which is called as PC, and the remaining power is converted into mechanical power, which is regarded as PM. So this PM is now given by P2 minus PC. This power is delivered to the load through shaft. During this mechanical transmission, a part of PM is again spent to overcome the mechanical losses like friction and windage losses. So a part of this power PM is spent to compensate the mechanical losses. So the final power which is delivered to the load is called as net output of the motor, represented as P out, or it is also called as shaft power or useful power. So P out is given by PM minus mechanical losses. What we give as input to the stator is P in, and what we are getting here is P out from the rotor. Moving on to the representation, the same concept of power flow in induction motor is symbolically represented here, where input power, electrical input power is given to the stator, and a part of it is spent to compensate the stator losses. The remaining power is supplied to rotor. This power is regarded as P2, and a part of this power P2 is spent to compensate the rotor copper losses, which is called as PC, and the remaining power is called as PM, which is the gross mechanical power developed. And a part of this power PM is spent to compensate the mechanical losses, and ultimately the power which is delivered to the load is called as the output power, useful power, or the shaft power. So the entire concept of the power flow in induction motor is represented symbolically through this representation. If we want to know only the rotor efficiency, we know the general formula for efficiency is output by input. So the rotor output is PM, that is nothing but the gross mechanical power developed, whereas the rotor input is the stator output, that is P2. So if we take the ratio of PM and P2, what we get will be the rotor efficiency. If we are looking for total motor efficiency, then it is given by the output by input. Output is at the shaft and the or the load, and the input is given to the stator. So P out by P in gives us the efficiency. If the efficiency is required in percentage, the entire ratio has to be multiplied by 100. So this is the concept of power flow in induction motor. Based on this, we can obtain the relation between three powers. P2 is the rotor input, PC is the rotor copper loss, PM is the mechanical power developed by the rotor or the rotor output. So all these power are with respect to rotor, and we are trying to obtain a relation or interlink all of these power through one term, that is slip. Let us see how it can be done. Let us say T be the torque developed by the motor in units of torque being Newton meter. And there is a general equation wherein we can relate power and torque. P is equal to torque into omega, omega being the angular speed. Omega is the speed in radians per second, whereas n is the speed in RPM. How to relate omega and n is through this formula, that is 2 pi n by 60 gives us the angular speed in radians per second. The input to the rotor or the rotor input P2 is nothing but we have obtained it as a stator output. So because this P2 is coming from the stator side, it will be having the speed of synchronous speed ns. So P2 is T into omega s. This omega s is given by 2 pi ns by 60. Substituting that, we get an equation for P2 in terms of torque and speed. Let us call that equation as equation number 1. Then the rotor gives the output at speed n. The output speed or the output of the rotor is always at the speed which we call it as the motor speed or the rotor speed, which is less than that of the synchronous speed. So that we call it as n. So the output of rotor Pm is given by T into omega. Substituting for omega, which is 2 pi n by 60. Call this power as equation 2. The difference between these two power. So P2 is rotor input, PM is rotor output. The difference between these two should be giving us the loss, that is nothing but the rotor copper loss, PC. So substituting the respective equations and taking out the like term T into 2 pi by 60, we are left with Ns minus N. So this equation 3 is giving us the rotor copper loss. Let us consider equation 3 by equation 1. Equation 3 is the copper loss, equation 1 is the rotor input. So taking the ratio, the terms T into 2 pi by 60 in numerator and denominator gets cancelled, leaving us Ns minus N by Ns. So this entire term gives us slip of induction motor. So Pc by P2 is equal to slip, or the rotor copper loss is slip times that of the rotor input. So this is the relation between rotor copper loss and rotor input. Now we can relate the output. The input minus loss will be output. So P2 minus PC is equal to PM. We have already expressed PC in terms of P2. So PC in terms of P2 is S times P2. Substituting for PC in terms of P2. So P2 minus S into P2 gives us PM. Taking the P2 as common, we get 1 minus S. So PM in terms of P2 is 1 minus S times. So basically, we have represented the rotor copper loss and the rotor output in terms of rotor input. So let us say this P2 is 1. If P2 is 1, then PC is S times P2. So it is S times 1. So it is S. PM is 1 minus S times P2. P2 being 1, it will be 1 minus S. So this is the relation between the rotor input, rotor copper loss, and the rotor output, that is the mechanical power developed. Moving on to the equivalent circuit of induction motor. Generally, induction motors are compared to that of transformers. This is because they both transformer as well as induction motor works based on the principle of electromagnetic induction. In induction motor, we have two major parts. One is rotor, other one is stator. Whereas in transformer, we have primary and secondary. So stator of induction motor is compared with that of the stator primary of the transformer, whereas rotor of the induction motor is compared to the secondary of the transformer. So before we go to the equivalent circuit, we have to declare some of the parameters which we will be using for representation. E1 is the EMF which is induced in the stator, all being per phase values, whereas E2 is the rotor induced EMF. Now let the supply voltage be V1, which is applied to the stator. This produces a flux which will be linking both stator and rotor. So this flux will induce EMF in stator, which is called self-induced EMF. Let us represent it as E1. And the same flux will induce EMF in the rotor, which is called as mutually induced EMF and represented as E2, all being per phase values. So K represents the transformation ratio, which is given by the ratio of rotor turns to stator turns, or in terms of voltage, it is rotor induced EMF to that of the stator induced EMF. Let E2R be the rotor induced EMF in running condition. We know that the rotor EMF changes with respect to the value of slip, in turn with respect to the value of speed. So E2 is nothing but the EMF induced that stands still in rotor, whereas E2R is the EMF induced in rotor under running condition. So this E2R is given by S times E2, R2 being the rotor resistance per phase, X2 is the rotor reactance in at standstill, whereas X2R is the rotor reactance in running condition. Let the stator resistance induction motor, and the equivalent circuit representation is rigged to transformer. So V1 is the primary voltage or the stator voltage, R1, X1 being the primary resistance and reactance or the stator resistance reactance. Even under no load condition, both transformer and induction motor draw certain current. So that current is represented here, which is drawn, that is I naught, which is represented or regarded as I naught, R naught and X naught. Coming to secondary, we have R2 and X2R, which is the resistance and reactance and the running condition of rotor, which is regarded as secondary. So this no load current, it is drawn in order to compensate the no load losses or core losses, and also responsible to produce the flux in the air gap. So this I naught has got two components. One we call it as active component, that is IC, which is required to supply the no load losses. The other one is called as magnetizing component, which is responsible for the production of flux in the air gap. So these two currents we are giving us a fictitious elements such as R naught and X naught. R naught is given by V1 by IC, V1 being the supply voltage. This represents the no load losses. X naught is responsible for producing the magnetic field in the air gap, which is given by V1 by IM. So the phasor sum of these two currents, IM and IC, gives us the no load current drawn by the motor, that is I naught. So this is the equivalent circuit of induction motor. The circuit on the left represents stator, whereas the circuit on the right represents rotor. In between is the air gap representation. Now we have to transfer all the parameters to any one side, either from rotor side to stator or from stator to rotor. Let us convert all the rotor side parameters to stator. So this E2, which is rotor induced EMF, now when referred to stator becomes E2 dash, which is given by E2 by K, K being the transformation ratio. Similarly, current I2R is the rotor current and running condition referred to stator, which is given by K times I2R. X2 dash is the rotor reactance referred to stator, given by X2 by K square, and R2 dash is the rotor resistance referred to stator, given by R2 by K square. So representing all the parameters referred to stator, all these stator parameters, that is V1, I1, R1, X1, or exciting circuit, everything remains unchanged because these are all still on the stator side. Whereas after air gap, what all parameters we had, we have shifted it with reference to stator. So they all are represented as X dash, R dash, I dash, E dash. So this is the equivalent circuit referred to stator. The next step will be to obtain the approximate equivalent circuit. So you can see here, first we have the stator winding, then we have represented the exciting circuit, and then we have represented the rotor. Now to obtain approximate equivalent circuit, what we do is, in this circuit, we whatever we have here as exciting branch, we are shifting it to the left of the stator winding, that is, we are bringing it next to the supply. So doing so, the equivalent circuit what we get will be called as approximate equivalent circuit. Why? Because by doing so, the drop across R1 and X1 due to the current I naught is neglected. That is why it is referred to as approximate equivalent circuit, and that is as represented here. So we are combining both R1, X1, because we have moved or shifted this exciting circuit towards the supply. So all the resistances of stator and rotor are connected in series. So R1 plus R2 dash is called as R1E, that is the equivalent resistance referred to stator. X1 plus X2 dash is equivalent reactance referred to stator. Both this R1E plus JX1E gives us the equivalent impedance referred to stator. So substituting those values, this is the final approximate equivalent circuit of three-phase induction motor. This is the exciting circuit, and these all the stator and rotor resistances and reactances put together are represented here, and this is the load resistance which is represented. This is the fictitious representation of the load.